there isn't a week that goes by where someone doesn't send me some sort of a message or a tweet about the 20 chops I took at flatbacks.
Someone told me to do it to you again.
Oh,
Somebody
I can't
told me
take 20 from you.
Somebody told me to chop you again. They're like, yeah, chop Van Vliet. And I was like,
How often do people bring that up for you?
A lot of times people, they say that they either saw Chris Danger's video
Yep.
or they saw the 20 chop. They saw your video.
Because my video between TikTok and YouTube Shorts and the full YouTube video has something like 15 or 20 million views.
Massive.
Yeah, great advertisement for flatbacks.
It is, but you see a lot of kids come in. They're like, so, like, are we doing chop day? And I was like, well, it depends. But like, I think there's a little bit of a misconception. So this is perfect because you were there live.
Yes.
So the reason why we do chop day, the main reason is because you can actually feel a little bit of pain, a slap to the chest, which allows you to sell. It gives you something to tap into mentally that, okay, so I know what this feels like. I can sell this for real. Well, I can sell a punch the same way. I can sell a kick the same way. It helps them if they're having a hard time coming out of their shell or making noise or selling.
Yeah.
It gives them a starting point.
Right.
The other part is, which you saw firsthand, is that the camaraderie that it builds. Because in pro wrestling, you know this like as much as anybody else, you're trusting each other with your lives.
Yeah.
I just met some of your guys today, right here, helping out in the studio.
Yeah.
If they're pro wrestlers and I don't know them and we showed up today at a show and we're wrestling each other, like that's a reality. I don't know how safe or dangerous this person is.
Sure.
That's where professionalism comes in.
Yeah.
That's why professional is in the whole professional wrestling. But the camaraderie that it builds is something to be seen. So when you see a lot of these young kids come in, they're 19, 20, 21, and they're shy and they're nervous and they're kind of scared and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just love wrestling and I just want to be here.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey man, have some fun and smile. And they go, it's okay, loosen up. Okay, breathe. Like there's just, I remember what it was like to be in that spot. So once they hit chop day, it's like they just, okay.
And at what point during their training does chop day usually happen?
It's kind of like fourth or fifth week.
Okay.
Usually it's farther in. So like hopefully they loosen up and we give them time. Usually it's by the time we start doing matches, which is they start doing their first matches by about 4 or 5 weeks.
Most people will comment that chop 17 that I took and chop 19 looked the worst. And that was Breeze's first chop and your first chop.
Oh, it broke my heart, but you were a trooper and we had a big class that time too.
Yeah.
I think I told you that before. I was like, this is a bigger class than usual, man. And we usually do 2 each. The kids get 2 each to hit each other. And
the whole plan was I trained when I was 20.
Right.
I didn't fully train, but I trained at the Squared Circle in Toronto. So I know how to bump and run the ropes, not well anymore, but
no, you ran them.
I had the basics down. I could lock up, right? And you were like, well, what if I gave you a chop? And I was like, I'll take a chop, like for sure. It'd be a lot more interesting though. And nobody realizes this was my idea.
Yeah, let's put that out for sure.
Yes, it was my idea. I said, it'd be a lot more interesting if we lined up all your students and each one of them gave me a chop. And you're like, let's do it. And then after I had already committed, you're like, oh, by the way, everybody gets 2. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I immediately went, 8 students to teach 20?
Yeah.
Oh, what have I got myself into? And then next thing you know, you're like, take off your shirt and get in the corner. I was like,
and coaches go last, by the way. Yeah. Well, you took him like a champ, man.
I think around chop 12 or something, my chest just went numb.
You made the wall. There's a picture of you on the wall in flatbacks, sitting there, just look like you
it's bad.
Clotheslined by a giant anaconda snake about 15 times. Just welts. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's kind of what it looked like.
I hope that there is
wall.
at least one student that has come to you and said, I didn't even know there was a wrestling school in Central Florida, and then I saw that video.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we've gotten the submissions. Hey, saw CVV's video.
What?
Just want to know exactly what the course schedule is like. Yeah.
What was the commission rate that we negotiated again? I can't remember.
Oh, we'll talk to Breeze. Let me run out the ladder. Let me get an answer for you after.
Figure that out.
I got your back. It's Breeze you got to worry about.
Right. How's he doing?
He's fantastic. That guy's, I always tell him he's the smartest dumb person I know. And I mean that in the most loving way. But I wish I met that guy. I've known him for, 10 years now. But business partner, my best friend.
Real estate mogul.
Yeah, he's very smart. He's got multiple properties. He's got his fingers and everything. He still works for WWE. He's in
That's
yeah,
right.
he's
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
department. Like he's got the school going. He's got a lot going on for himself. Very happy, very healthy, and that's he's got. I keep bugging him now. I say, hey man, now you got to have a kid because my kid needs a friend. Like
Yeah.
you're my only friend, so you got to. My kid needs a friend, and he's like, leave me alone. So, but yeah, things are very well.
When a new student comes to you guys, what are you looking for?
Heart. Our biggest thing is, and I know that might sound a little cheesy, our biggest thing that we harp on most is safety and footwork technique. Because if you kind of get that down, then the danger levels kind of drop. But like, man, just the will to not want to stop or not quit. It is so hard to instill. And it was great because I was out last night a little bit in LA. After we did the live with FTR, I went to the Comedy Store and I saw Ziggler
Yeah.
and
Ryan.
and yeah, so they were performing. But the best part is I had like my kids out there, and when I say kids, I don't mean that they're children. I mean like the kids that I've trained. So like Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn, Kiana James in WWE, one half of the women's NXT Tag Team Champion, Harley
Yeah.
Cameron, who's now with AEW. Like when you kind of stand back for a second, you look like you're so proud, and then you kind of remember, they were sweating their guts out and basically dying during training, and I'm in their ear, all of them. You can quit if you want. You can stop at any time. You can take a break. You want to go get some water? Go ahead. And they refuse. Some of them even tell me, fuck off. But that's me going, you don't know your limits yet. It's my job as a coach to find your limits. So I'm going to push you towards them. They're going to be uncomfortable. But if you're able to break through those limits, not only will it help you in pro wrestling, it'll help you in life. You got to remember I'm getting young kids, right? So I push them because that's what they're paying me to do.
Yeah.
I don't push them to a point where they completely fold because they're still very impressionable. They're still very young, but they don't know their limits yet. Push yourself to find those limits. You might surprise yourself. You might surpass them. And, if you get the ball rolling for there, like who knows what you're capable of.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful thing if you can kind of wrap your mind around it, but it takes a long time to wrap your mind around it unless you have someone in your ear saying, you can quit or you can keep going.
Yeah.
The choice is yours.
I would think your quitting rate there is a lot lower than other wrestling schools because you have to make the commitment of going every day. And like for a lot of people moving to Florida to make this happen. Whereas I think there's a lot of people that go to wrestling school on Tuesday night and then Thursday night, and then they don't go again till next week. I would think your quitting rate's a lot lower.
I'm not sure. I have talked with like a few people, Cody and QT and stuff like that. And it's kind of the same. It seems like it's the same, at least between those two schools. I think a lot of people underestimate how much cardiovascular conditioning that is required in pro wrestling.
It blows me away how many people want to be pro wrestlers and don't go to the gym frequently.
That is part two.
What are you doing?
You have to pick people up. You have to work out. You have to be strong, not just to protect somebody else, but protect yourself.
Yeah.
And then once you start getting into getting hit and falling, usually in the past couple classes, this class actually hasn't. We haven't had any quitters yet, which is fantastic. Last couple classes, usually one or two that quit during the cardio week, which is the first week. Once we get into bumps, usually one might fall out or one might get hurt or one might sit out, depending on if they're legitimate injured or not. It's up to them. But usually a couple are out.
Yeah.
Because it's not for everybody. But the same thing we tell them at the beginning of every 8-week course, just you have 8 weeks for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And a couple of them live in my houses. Like we have student housing, so I put them in there.
Yeah.
So if you guys are coming from out of state and you have nothing else to do, you're not working here, you've already paid your fees, you're good. What are you doing with the other 21 hours that you are not here? We have class 3 hours a night. For the next 8 weeks, for the rest of your life, find out if this is something for you.
Yeah.
That way you're not 70, 80 and go, I wonder if I would have, could I? Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's so vital. I think it's so important. So we make sure we make that clear on day one.